A portal trembles above you, Taurus. A vibration old as your soul begins to rise from the silence. Have you felt the air shift before dawn? Have you sensed a presence calling your name? What if destiny has already dialed your number? There is a code awakening inside you, a revelation that Nostradamus whispered about and Baba Vanga saw in visions. The moment when a Taurus breaks a 13-year karmic chain and steps into 2 decades of victory. And the voice that brings this ending is closer than you think. The message arrives soon, sooner than your heartbeat believes. Taurus, let me ask you something your soul has avoided for far too long. Why have you been waking up just before dawn, as if someone touched the edge of your consciousness? Why do certain memories resurface without warning, as though rehearsing themselves for a moment you cannot yet see? And why, in these last evenings, does the silence feel too alive, too intentional, too precise, almost as if waiting for you to notice it? These questions are not random, they are signals. Something ancient has been circling your life, something that took 13 long years to complete its orbit. You may not remember when this cycle began, because pain rarely announces itself with clarity at the start. It slips in quietly, disguised as a responsibility, a duty, a relationship you tried too hard to hold together, or a dream that required more of your spirit than it ever returned. But on the deepest level, Taurus, you know exactly when the wait began. You remember the moment your breath grew heavier. You remember when you started settling, shrinking, tolerating. You remember the promises you whispered to yourself at night, believing one day life would lift the burden. And life tried. Oh, how it tried. Through endings you resisted, through truths you didn't want to hear, through signs you pushed aside because you weren't ready to confront what they meant. But a karmic cycle never ends through effort. It ends through awakening. And your awakening begins with a call, one that is not physical, not electronic, but vibrational. A call that rises from the marrow of your being, from the very frequency your soul encoded before it entered this existence. For 13 years, you carried the residue of choices that were no longer aligned with who you were becoming. Some of them belonged to your past self. Some belonged to the expectations of others. Some belonged to wounds inherited from family, lineage, and stories that you carried even when they weren't yours to hold. But now, the energy of this month pulls the thread tight. The karmic rope snaps, and something within you hears it, clearly, unmistakably. You may have felt it already in small ways, a sudden urge to reclaim parts of yourself you abandoned, a restlessness in your chest, like a caged instinct shaking itself awake, a discomfort around people who no longer match your frequency, a longing for a life you cannot yet describe, but whose presence you feel pressing against the edges of your reality. These sensations are precursors, the soft winds that travel ahead of a massive shift. Taurus, for the first time in 13 years, you stand at the threshold where destiny is louder than fear. But here is the question that frames your initiation. Can you hear the call that is meant to free you, or are you still listening to the echoes of a life that has already ended? Because what approaches you now, what your intuition has been preparing you for, is not a lesson. It is a release. A dissolving of karmic bindings that kept you repeating emotional loops, financial constraints, patterns of loyalty that cost you too much, and internal knots that made you carry responsibility heavier than the sky intended for one soul. But liberation does not arrive gently. It arrives with presence, with frequency, with a voice that speaks not to your ears, but to your bones. You may feel it soon as a sudden clarity, a thought that drops into your mind with the weight of truth. You may feel it as a burst of courage, so unfamiliar and so undeniable that it startles you. You may feel it as the need to close a door you have kept half open for far too long. But most of all, you will feel it as a remembering of who you were before fear began negotiating your choices. Taurus, the universe has been watching your endurance, And endurance is sacred when it leads to maturity, but destructive when it becomes self-sacrifice. You have given enough. You have carried enough. You have waited enough. This first part of your revelation does not ask you to act. It asks you to acknowledge, to breathe, to understand that the heaviness you feel is not weakness. It is the final compression before breakthrough. For 13 years, the wheel turned slowly, painfully, deliberately. Now it turns abruptly, and when destiny spins, nothing remains the same. You may be wondering, why now? Why this moment? Why this shift after so many years of stillness, tension, and repetition? Because your soul finally reached the frequency required to end the contract. Cycles end when the spirit rises enough to outgrow the lesson. And Taurus, your spirit has outgrown everything that once confined you. But let me warn you, gently and truthfully, there is always a moment, right before the blessing arrives, when life feels unnervingly silent, almost too quiet, almost unnatural. This silence is not emptiness. It is the universe inhaling before announcing your name. And that announcement begins with the call, a call that will not ask you to suffer, a call that will not demand sacrifice, a call that will not come to test you. It comes to crown you. It comes to break the last chain, the final thread of a story that no longer belongs to you, the ending that makes space for 20 years of unfolding light. And now, Taurus, the first part of your destiny begins, not with an event, not with a person, not with an opportunity, but with a voice that has been waiting 13 years to reach you, a voice that you will soon recognize as your own, your higher self reclaiming the throne. I break the old cycle and rise into the victory that has always been mine. Feel this declaration settle into your chest as a new code, an activation of the timeline your soul has finally aligned with. If this message resonated in your spirit, leave your hype on this video, like, share, and consider becoming a member of the channel. Each hype you offer strengthens this frequency, helps this sacred space grow, and carries this light to other souls who need this awakening. Taurus, before we step into this second passage, allow one question to echo inside you. Why do certain days feel heavier, as though reality is rearranging itself behind the scenes? Because in this phase of your journey, the invisible is not silent. It's preparing an entrance, and the more aligned you become, the more undeniable its presence grows. There is a moment in every awakening where the outer world begins to mirror the internal shift, and you, Taurus, have stepped into that mysterious threshold. You may notice odd sensations, a sudden pressure in your chest, a subtle ringing in your ears, memories resurfacing with no clear trigger, or a sense that time bends around you rather than flowing predictably. These are not anomalies. They are indicators that your frequency is calibrating to a new destiny. For 13 years, life shaped you through friction, delay, disappointment, emotional fatigue, and lessons disguised as burdens. But now, something profoundly different begins happening. Events start moving in your favor, yet they move with quiet precision rather than dramatic displays. This is how karmic closure operates, not with explosions, but with an unshakable certainty rising from within you. But let me ask you another question, one that reveals the heart of this transition. How much of your past have you been holding simply because you feared the emptiness that might follow releasing it? This fear has been the silent architect of many of your choices. You stayed where you were not valued because leaving seemed too abrupt. You tolerated inconsistencies from others because confrontation felt exhausting. You carried guilt that was never yours because silence was easier than explanation. Yet in doing so, you preserved a version of yourself that was slowly collapsing on the inside. This collapse wasn't your fault. It was part of your karmic architecture. Every soul entering this world weaves a timeline where certain patterns must be dismantled. For you, Taurus, these patterns revolved around your worth. For 13 years, life tested the boundaries of what you accepted, what you endured, and what you believed you deserved. And now, in this second passage, something extraordinary is occurring. Your soul is rejecting every story that was built on diminishing yourself. You may find yourself unable to tolerate certain conversations. You may feel drained after interacting with people who once felt comfortable. You may sense a disconnect from old habits, old dreams, or old roles that once defined you. Why? Because those parts were tied to the old karmic cycle, and that cycle is now dissolving. The dissolution is not soft, it is decisive. And sometimes it may feel like losing fragments of yourself. But these fragments were only masks, identities you wore to survive a chapter that demanded your resilience. Now, your spirit demands something higher, truth. Let's examine the shift more deeply. Have you recently noticed moments where life pauses, as though the air thickens before something happens? Have you sensed a presence or a pressure guiding you toward decisions you didn't feel ready to make? Have you caught yourself imagining a future that feels impossibly different from your current situation? These sensations mark the beginning of alignment. When the soul enters its authentic frequency, the external world responds, often in ways that initially feel strange. You may notice a person withdrawing suddenly without explanation, an opportunity arriving earlier than expected, a message appearing at the exact moment you think of someone, a door closing with unusual swiftness, a new desire emerging from a place you haven't touched in years. These are not coincidences, they are convergences. Your timeline is correcting itself, and in this correction, anything not meant for your next 20 years begins falling away. But Taurus, here is where many souls falter. They mistake karmic removal for abandonment. They mistake destiny's hand for loss. They confuse endings with failure. Do not fall into that illusion. What leaves now leaves because it cannot follow you forward. What fades now fades because it cannot survive in the light of your evolution. And what arrives now arrives because your soul has finally reached the vibrational signature required to receive it. This is where the deeper truth unfolds, Taurus. You are not being emptied, you are being cleared. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. You are not losing, you are being aligned. But alignment demands clarity, and clarity demands courage. So let me ask you another piercing question. Are you willing to step into a version of yourself that no longer apologizes for existing? Because this is the crossroads you now face. The moment where the inner and outer worlds synchronize. The moment where the voice that has been rising inside you begins to speak louder than the echoes of your past. You may begin questioning things you never questioned before. Why does this person's presence drain me? Why do I feel anxious in environments I used to tolerate? Why does my intuition speak so strongly when I ignore it? Why do certain memories suddenly feel irrelevant? Why do some desires feel like they belong to another lifetime? All these questions are signals of liberation. The call of destiny is not always loud. It is often felt as a quiet refusal to continue accepting what once felt normal. This phase of your journey is about reclamation, reclaiming time, reclaiming self-worth, reclaiming dreams buried under years of emotional gravity, reclaiming the parts of yourself you silenced to maintain peace. You may not notice it at first, but your aura is changing. Your presence commands a different response from others. People who once ignored you now sense your strength. People who took from you now feel the boundary. People who relied on your silence now feel unnerved by your awakening. Why? Because karmic cycles do not end quietly. They end through elevation. And you, Taurus, are rising. This rise is not dramatic, it is dignified, it is not reckless, it is deliberate, it is not desperate, it is destined. And as this realization settles into your energy, something else begins to form. A new vision of yourself. Not the version you fought to become, not the version others wanted you to be, but the version your soul wrote long before the karmic cycle began. This version is emerging now, like a figure stepping out of a dense fog, steady, grounded, luminous, unafraid. Taurus, this is the moment you stop questioning your worth. This is the moment you stop negotiating your identity. This is the moment you stop shrinking for the comfort of others. You are stepping into 20 years of expansion. But to enter that era, you must listen to the voice rising inside you, the voice that calls you by your true name, the voice that remembers who you were before the world taught you doubt, the voice that knows exactly what you came here to build. And this voice, the one that breaks 13 years of pain, has just begun speaking. I rise into my truth, and nothing of the old world can follow me. Let this decree seal the energy of your transformation. If this part awakened something inside you, leave your hype on this video, like, share, and consider becoming a member of the channel. Each hype you give strengthens this current, helps this sacred space grow, and carries this light to other Taurus souls rising with you. Taurus, before we step deeper, let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. Why do you feel a strange pull toward the future, even though nothing in your physical world has visibly changed yet? Because the shift you are living now does not begin in the external. It begins in the frequency beneath your skin. There comes a moment in every destiny when the path that once felt familiar begins to dissolve. Not dramatically, not violently, but softly, like an old photograph losing color. And you, Taurus, have entered that moment. Maybe you've sensed it already. The foods you once craved no longer comfort you. The voices you once obeyed no longer influence you. The routines you followed without thinking now feel heavy, suffocating, outdated. Why? Because the energetic blueprint of your life has changed, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. Let's explore something that many fear to confront. What if the version of yourself you've been defending for years is no longer the one you are meant to protect? This question is the gateway to the threshold you are crossing. For 13 years, you held onto identities built through survival. You were the reliable one, the steady one, the strong one, the one who kept the house standing even when every brick felt loose. But the universe has been whispering a different truth. You were never meant to survive forever. You were meant to evolve. Evolution is messy. It asks you to question what you've tolerated. It asks you to confront truths you've postponed. It asks you to release versions of yourself that others depended on, even if it leaves temporary silence in your life. So let me ask you again, why does silence feel different now? Because it is no longer the silence of loneliness. It is the silence of rebirth. This silence is where destiny breathes. It is where your intuition sharpens. It is where your new path gathers its strength. You may have noticed a subtle but unmistakable shift in how you perceive things. Conversations feel more transparent. Intentions are easier to read. Hidden emotions rise to the surface without effort. What was once blurry becomes painfully clear. This clarity is not a coincidence. It is an initiation. Your spirit is no longer willing to pretend. It will no longer rationalize behaviors that hurt you. It will no longer accept relationships that drain you. It will no longer bend itself to fit the comfort of others. And here is the truth that many never realize. Spiritual awakening often feels like losing everything that kept you emotionally numb. Awakening is not light, it is exposure. It reveals where you've been lied to, where you've lied to yourself, where you've settled, where you've given too much, where you've abandoned your own heart in the name of peace. But peace built on self-abandonment is not peace. It is imprisonment. Taurus, for perhaps the first time in many years, your soul refuses to be imprisoned. You may feel restless without reason. You may feel drawn to change your environment, your habits, your expectations. You may feel a rising desire to cleanse your life of what feels emotionally stagnant. These impulses are not random. They are the body's response to a frequency shift so profound that even your physical senses are reacting to it. Let me ask you another question, one that only courage can answer. What would your life look like if you stopped apologizing for your truth? Think about it, because this is the future that is calling you. A future where you express your needs without fear of rejection. A future where you follow desire without guilt. A future where you make decisions based on trust, not on trauma. A future where your presence no longer shrinks around people who haven't earned access to you. This is the threshold, the moment where the old story must fall away for the new one to take shape. And here is the divine paradox. You don't cross this threshold by force, you cross it by surrender, surrendering the pain, surrendering the doubt, surrendering the version of yourself that carried the burden of 13 years of karmic weight, surrendering the belief that struggle is necessary for you to receive what is yours. Because the new era you are entering, 20 years of expansion, cannot be built on the foundation of self-neglect. It must be built on self-recognition. So ask yourself, where have I been dimming myself to maintain peace? Where have I been pretending not to notice disrespect? Where have I stayed because leaving felt too expensive? Where have I held on because releasing felt like betrayal? These questions are your map. The universe is not punishing you. It is revealing you, revealing your boundaries, revealing your self-worth, revealing your hidden strength, revealing your untapped destiny. And here is the breathtaking truth. You are not who you were even 6 months ago. Your frequency has already crossed the threshold. Your emotions are catching up. Your mind is adjusting. Your external world is rearranging. But on the spiritual plane, Taurus, you have already arrived. This is why familiar things feel foreign. This is why old attachments feel misaligned. This is why you sense that something is ending, even if nothing visible has collapsed yet. Because endings always begin energetically before they manifest physically. And your ending, your beautiful, liberating, karmic ending, has already started. What comes next will require courage. But not the brutal courage you've used for 13 years. Not the courage of endurance, not the courage of silence, not the courage of carrying others. This new courage is different. It is the courage of becoming, the courage of stepping into your truth without apology, the courage of letting life favor you without guilt. This is the threshold you stand upon now, between who you were forced to be and who you were always meant to become. And the next step, the one that will change everything, is the moment you finally say, I choose me. I cross the threshold of my destiny, free from the weight of the past. Let this declaration anchor your transition. If this part resonated in your soul, leave your hype on this video, like, share, and consider becoming a member of the channel. Every hype you share strengthens this current, helps this sacred space grow, and carries this light to other Taurus souls, awakening with you. Taurus, before we step further, let me ask you a question you may have avoided for years. Why do you instinctively sense when someone's intentions shift, even before they speak a single word? Because your intuition has never been weak. It was merely muffled by the weight of the karmic cycle you just ended. And now that the weight has lifted, your perception sharpens like a blade, finally freed from the stone. This part of the journey brings a revelation many Taurus souls are never prepared for. When a karmic cycle ends, you do not rise alone. Someone rises with you. You may have felt it already. A subtle presence in your life, someone whose energy feels grounding yet unfamiliar, someone who sees you in a way others never have. But the truth is more profound than this. Destiny is placing an ally onto your path, an ally your soul called long before your mind knew their name. But before we speak of who approaches, we must address something deeper, something shifting inside you that prepares the way. In these days, you may notice a peculiar sensation, an unexplainable pull toward hope, a softness returning to your voice, a willingness to imagine a future you had silently buried. Why now? Because the universe does not send allies to closed hearts. It sends them to hearts that are healing. Your heart has entered a phase of restoration that goes beyond emotion. It is a spiritual recalibration, a rebalancing of your magnetic field, a cleansing of what once distorted your inner sight. And this cleansing brings unexpected consequences. Let me ask you again, Why do familiar people suddenly feel distant? Why do their words echo empty? Why do their actions reveal inconsistencies you once ignored? Because your vibration is rising, and when your vibration rises, the truth of others becomes transparent. This is where your awakening becomes more visible. People around you may behave strangely. Some may feel intimidated by your newfound clarity. Some may withdraw without explanation. Some may test your boundaries, hoping the old version of you still exists. Some may attempt to reconnect, sensing your energy shifting into strength. But here is the secret rarely spoken. As you rise, the universe removes who cannot rise with you. Not through conflict, not through drama, through energetic divergence. Your paths separate naturally because they no longer resonate. Let me ask you something with depth and precision. What have you been holding on to simply because you feared your own evolution? This question is not meant to break you. It is meant to awaken you. Because as your frequency heightens, the universe begins aligning every missing piece of your future. And one of those pieces, perhaps the most important one, is a person. Not just anyone. A mirror soul, a guiding presence, a stabilizing force. You may recognize them through subtle signs, a conversation that feels unusually aligned, a sense of calm in their presence, the feeling that they understand what you haven't spoken, an instinct that says, there is something here, something important, a strange familiarity, as if your soul remembers what your mind does not. Why does this happen? Because when a Taurus breaks a long karmic cycle, the universe does not leave them alone on the bridge between eras. It sends someone who vibrates at the frequency of their future. This person is not here to rescue you. They are here to reflect your rebirth. They are here to accelerate your alignment. They are here to walk beside the version of you that is emerging. But before they can fully enter your path, something must be confronted. The shadow that lingers behind your ribs. Are you willing to receive without fear, or will you judge the future through the wounds of the past? This is crucial, Taurus. Your next 20 years depend on your answer. From here on, destiny will test your readiness, not through suffering, but through possibility. You will be offered situations that feel too good, people that feel too aligned, opportunities that feel too effortless. And part of you may doubt them, because for 13 years, your blessings came wrapped in struggle. But now, the struggle is gone. Your spirit is lighter. Your field is open. Your calling is active. This is why life feels different, even if you cannot explain it logically. Let us go deeper. Have you noticed déjà vu intensifying? Dreams that feel like messages? Objects falling at strange moments, names repeating, time slowing down or speeding up unpredictably. These are synchronistic markers, indicators that your timeline is rearranging itself around you. Your future is not ahead of you. It is descending toward you. This is why you may feel days of unusual pressure followed by unusual clarity. You are not imagining it. You are adjusting to a destiny recalibration. And during this recalibration, the presence of the unseen ally grows stronger. You may not know their role yet, but you will feel their gravitational pull. They are drawn to your frequency. They are drawn to your transformation. They are drawn to the version of you that is stepping into sovereignty. But here is something you must understand. This ally cannot appear fully until you release what is closing your heart. Not all at once, not dramatically, but through acknowledgement. Because once you acknowledge the cycles you kept alive through fear, you free your energy from their grip. One final question, Taurus, a question that opens the gate to your next revelation. What would happen if you allowed someone to truly see you now, without the armor, without the exhaustion, without the story of who you were before the cycle ended? This question is not about romance. It is about recognition. The universe will not let you enter the next 20 years alone. You have walked the dark part of the path by yourself. Now the era of alliance begins. A new soul steps forward soon, not to lead you, not to follow you, but to stand beside you. Because the Taurus who emerges from a karmic ending rises not individually, but divinely accompanied. I welcome aligned souls and release every bond that no longer reflects my rising. Let this decree open the vibrational gate of your next connections. If this message stirred your spirit, leave your hype on this video, like, share, and consider becoming a member of the channel. Each hype strengthens this frequency, expands this sacred space, and carries this light to other Taurus souls stepping into their new era. Taurus, before we enter the final revelation, breathe deeply and let this single question rise through you like a distant thunder. What if the moment you have been preparing for, knowingly or unknowingly, for 13 years is already on its way to you? Because this is the truth that begins to unfold now. The call that ends your karma is not a metaphor. It is not symbolic. It is not abstract. It is real. It is precise. It is destined, and it is coming. For weeks, perhaps months, you have felt a strange tension in the air, like something approaching you from beyond the horizon of your awareness. A pull you cannot explain, a pressure around your heart that feels like anticipation rather than fear, a knowing that has no logic attached to it. This is not imagination. This is not coincidence. This is the universe aligning the final piece of a cycle that began 13 years ago. Let us go back for a moment to the beginning of that cycle, even if you don't consciously remember the exact day. Something happened then, a decision, a heartbreak, a separation, a sacrifice, a promise you made to yourself, a burden you picked up because no one else would. And from that moment forward, life began shaping you through trials that were never meant to break you. They were meant to refine you. But refinement is painful. Growth disguised as loss is painful. Lessons disguised as endings are painful. And even now you may ask, why did it take 13 years? Why so long? Because some souls, Taurus, carry destinies too large to be rushed. You are one of them. Your transformation required time, years of endurance, identity shedding, emotional burning, rebuilding and reinvention. Every disappointment carved a part of you that is essential to who you are becoming. But now, the carving is complete. The wheel has turned, the karma has dissolved, your frequency has changed, and destiny begins its return. This final part of your journey is marked by two massive forces converging. One, a cosmic alignment that clears the last residue of the old cycle. Two, a call, a literal, energetic or symbolic call that confirms the beginning of your new era. Let me ask you something your spirit already knows. Have you not felt something, or someone, trying to reach you? A message that feels overdue, a truth wanting to break through the silence, a connection that refuses to fade. Because, in this final stretch, the universe uses communication to shift your path. A call can arrive in many forms, a forgotten opportunity resurfacing, a person from your past speaking truth at last, a contract, approval, or invitation arriving suddenly, a message that changes the direction of your next months, a confession that releases emotional weight, a realization so powerful it feels like someone called your name from another dimension. But no matter its form, this call triggers something monumental, the unbinding of your soul. For the first time in 13 years, your path becomes lighter not because you are trying harder, but because destiny is finally working with you, not against you. Let me ask you another essential question. Are you ready to receive without fear what the universe has been preparing behind the scenes? Because receiving requires openness, and openness requires trust. This is the moment many Taurus souls resist, not because they don't want the blessing, but because the blessing feels too big after years of surviving on scraps. But your era of scraps is over. Your era of sacrifice is over. Your era of silence is over. Now begins the era of recompense, 20 years of it. This final part reveals something few ever understand. When a Taurus ends a karmic cycle, their destiny does not simply improve, it expands. Your life will not shift 1 degree, It will shift entirely. You will notice signs immediately, conversations that feel guided, opportunities that align with your new identity, release of heaviness from your chest, a wave of clarity that feels like coming up for air, people treating you differently without knowing why, a sense of timing that flows perfectly as if life is finally cooperating. These are not changes, these are recalibrations. Your frequency is no longer compatible with the past, and the past cannot shape the future that awaits you. The universe knows this, your spirit knows this, and now your body begins to feel it too. But the greatest revelation of this final part is one you may not have expected. Your next 20 years are not built alone. Everything you went through taught you independence, but independence is not your destiny. Alignment is, and alignment requires connection. The ally mentioned in begins stepping closer at this stage, magnetically drawn by the frequency you now radiate. And here comes another question that shapes your future. What if the person or people entering your life now are part of your 20-year mission, not just your present chapter? This era brings companionship, collaboration, recognition, opportunity, support, and emotional resonance. The relationships entering your field now are not random, they are soul-contracted. Just as one karmic cycle ends, another sacred path opens, and its doorway is the call. A call that breaks inner chains. A call that aligns timelines. A call that declares the old version of you complete. A call that begins your new identity. A call that opens the gates of your greatest destiny. But Taurus, there is one last question you must answer honestly. When the voice of your new life calls your name, will you answer or will you hide behind who you used to be? Because destiny can be delayed, but it can never be denied. And your destiny stands at the threshold, waiting. All you must do is pick up. I answer the call of my destiny. The past is over, and my 20 years of victory begin now. Let this decree seal your new timeline. If this prophecy awakened something powerful within you, leave your hype on this video, like, share, and if your heart feels the call, become a member of the channel. Each hype strengthens this light, expands this sacred space, and brings this revelation to more Taurus souls who are ready to rise after 13 years of shadows.